Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Hey, the doctor is in. Hope everybody's had an awesome week. I have. I think everyone's a blessing, right? We can't guarantee tomorrow. Yesterday has passed. But today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Are you approaching it as if it is a present to you? But great week last week. Again, great feedback. Podcast continues to gather and garner some additional listeners. If you are enjoying it, if I can ask a personal favor, pass it on to friends, family, others. Would love to try to engage with more than I'm engaging with today. That's the daily goal, is to just get some more listeners involved with. Remember, you can find more out about what we do, who we are, at the website at www.drleadershipresults.com. And if you do have anything to provide us feedback, whatever, that is reachable through email at drleadershipresults@gmail.com. So last week, I'm going to jump right in here. Last week, or the last episode, depends on when you are listening, but we touched on adversity. And I told a couple of funny stories because they were business adversity focused. One was life adversity focused, one of the funniest stories ever. If you haven't listened to the first episode, I'd at least give the last 7-8 minutes a listen. And I had some fun with it. But what I want to go into today is, remember, the show's focus is about learning, leading, handling things from not only a professional standpoint in your business world, but also being able to handle these things as they come at you in life. And adversity is going to face you in life, or you're going to have to face adversity in life is a better way to say that, many more times around your personal life than probably your business life in the grand scheme of things. You know, in the business world, handling adversity is handling the world no, and getting over big losses of business opportunities, not getting the job you may want, you know, some career milestones, those types of things. But when you get into personal adversity, it is everywhere. And now that we share so much, so often through the cell phones in our hands, and news is 24/7, it's 25/7, you can't get away from it. And it really, my mother and I talk a couple times every week, and she's 93. She has faced a lot of things in life, right? But she feels that there's a lot more adversity in the world today than there used to be. And it's really because it's always in your face. Everyone's constantly connected. Everyone has the phone in their hand. The news is continuous. There's 500 different, there's probably 5,000 different stations you can watch. If you roll in YouTube as part of your intake for data or information, it's millions of different ways in which to get data and news. So it's always right there. These adversity and bad storms and death and wars and things have always happened. It's just now more so in our face, and it can really give you the doldrums. I mean, it can really bring you down if you don't know how to handle some of these things. So today I'm going to touch more on some personal adversity. My wife and I were talking this morning, and she goes, "Hey, good episode last time." And she's the barometer, right? Always, what does she think? What does she not think? And love her to death for the feedback. And she goes, "You know, there's so much more adversity than what you covered." And I know I try to stay around 30, 32 minutes, 33 minutes, something like that on these, so they're quick hits for you on the drive. You can pick 30 minutes and hopefully get some input here. But she said, "Man, I think you ought to go into the life stuff. Just think of what we've faced." I'm like, man, that's a really good idea. So I'm just going to talk about some things, and I want you to ponder how you would face, or how you're going to face these things, because it's coming at you. Life ain't easy. I say it a lot. It's coming at you. Let's talk about simple things, right? You go through life, you find a significant other. What happens if that significant other, how are you going to respond when your spouse, your husband, your wife, serious boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, dies? What are you going to do? I think I know what I would do, but I think we all have to be realistic and say, how would that come at us? Loss of a parent at a young age. What would you do? My wife lost her mother. My wife was 21 and her mother was 46. Lung cancer. Suddenly hit. 90 days gone. It still has some effects on my wife. It also has changed her on how she handles life and death situations and illnesses and things today. Still very emotionally drawing on her, but she understands life isn't fair. You have to keep moving forward for those that are still around. I've always said death is toughest on the living. Mourning, dealing with it, digging out. Then comes, if you've got siblings and both parents are gone, what if there's some will confrontation? I wanted that crystal set. Why did dad and mom give you the car? Don't do that, folks. I have told my folks and my siblings all along, I'll walk out of the room and take nothing before I disagree with a sibling about what happens after that death. Will not do it. Refuse to. What if a serious illness comes on with your spouse? How are you going to respond? I want to remind everybody of something. I said in the last episode that adversity is tougher on the younger people these days because we have treated them with kind of cotton-covered gloves about how life is. They need to take adversity on young. I would rather Jimmy not make the basketball team than lose a spouse at 30 years old with a couple of babies in the household. Those help us get a little stronger, build some strength to our skin, thicken the skin up a little bit. But what I have to say about a spouse that suddenly takes on an illness is those vows mean something in sickness and in health. Did you just repeat what the pastor said or what the person that handled those vow sections for you in your marriage? Or do you truly believe them? I know what I'm going to say when hopefully someday, if my two daughters desire it, a man comes to the house, the boyfriend, and says, I'd like to ask you for your daughter's hand in marriage. I've already got figured out what I'm going to talk to him about. First of all, do you know what you're signing up for? My daughters can be a handful, and I mean that with all the love in the world. They are awesome. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or whatever that statement is. If I got it backwards, sorry. But we're different. You have to be understanding that you're signing up for things that are just going to come at you. But that illness, sickness and in health, I'll tell you what you do is you give the finest care you can and you love them forevermore and help them through it. Could be a disability from a car accident. They happen every day, thousands of times a day. What are you going to do? Again, be prepared, hope for the best, plan for the worst, but you have to be ready for that. As a married couple, get a will and a trust build up. You don't have to have a bunch of money to have a trust. That isn't what a trust is about. We'll talk about that when we get into the financials, which I'm starting on next week. Some things to do around life and how to lead your family to financial independence and to secure your wealth and to build wealth. It doesn't happen. Nobody gets rich on their salaries. So I'll talk about that next week. But surround yourself with the legal documents that empower your family to be able to get their feet back underneath them as quick as possible if somebody quickly dies. Let's talk about mental disarray for a minute, right? Alzheimer's. My dad died of Alzheimer's. That isn't what ended up taking him, but it was the journey, right? And it can be very sad. You have to have a little bit of sense of humor with it. There's a great book called I'm Still Alice. Anybody that's facing a family member with Alzheimer's right now, I highly recommend it. My siblings and I all read it. My dad was my hero. I did his eulogy, and I tried to do it justice. I knew I was going to do his eulogy since I was 10 years old. That's what he meant to me. But his last 7-8 years were ridden with mental incapacitation because just forgetfulness. Can remember each and every day of World War II, the guys on the boat with him in the outside the Philippines and up and down the chain islands. He can remember all that. What'd you have for lunch? Have we eaten lunch? The only good thing about Alzheimer's for those that are suffering it is all the new and interesting people you meet every day. It's a terrible joke, but it's funny. Right? They just forget. So what you do if you are facing a significant other or a parent or a family member that has Alzheimer's is you laugh at the old jokes again. Enjoy the moment. Yeah, Dad, we already talked about that. Can make you short. Alzheimer's toughest on the spouse that's living in the household. You know, as a kid, I'd go over and I'd spend time with my dad, and in an hour and a half, I'm mentally exhausted, and I hug my mom as I'm walking out of the home, and I go, she's 24/7 with that. And you know what she did? 99.9% of the time smiled and loved him. And when she was frustrated, she'd get herself away from the house a little bit. She had somebody come in and watch over him so she could continue her life. She was only 75 years old when this started happening. She's 93 and can still kick my butt. I mean, she's sharp. She continued her life, but she supported that spouse. She loved him till the end. She misses him dearly. But she can remember that she stood tall by him at 5'2" and rode out the problems. What about disabilities? You know, car accident, suddenly quadriplegic, paraplegic. How would you respond? That's huge adversity, going to change your life forever. Sickness in and health. Move in with them to help take care of it. Divide and conquer with the siblings. They gave you life if it's your parents. Give something back. That's when we have to be strong and be able to face these things, right? What about drug addiction? Think about that. Got anybody in your family? Everybody's got somebody at this point. Alcoholism or drugs. Every day a couple million pills of fentanyl coming across the border. Don't worry about that. It's secure. Not a political statement. Just, God damn it, I'm sick and tired of it. Losing 150,000 Americans every year because of tainted drugs. We got towns in this country saying, well, let's give them the drugs because then we'll make sure they're not bad drugs. I mean, shake my head. Are you kidding me? Take that thing head on. Put the military over the top of it like they're a terrorist organization and take out these cartels. Sexual trafficking. Loss of a child through kidnapping. It happens. Grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. Johnny Gosch, first one that really ever happened. His mother has never, ever gotten through that. Still fights it. Grown kids last few years with the pandemic. Hey, pandemic could happen again. How would you handle that? Depression's up. Mental illnesses are up. We got crazy people throwing people on subway tracks and running over people at Christmas parades, showing up at schools, shooting things up. All sorts of fireworks beforehand that you knew there was a problem. And family or whoever didn't want to face the adversity of getting them help. What would you do? Drug addiction's real, man. It's everywhere. We had dear friends, stillborn baby. You are the happiest you could possibly ever think you're going to be as you're going through this journey of a new child coming in your life as a couple. You go in, the doctors and nurses suddenly start moving a little faster around you. What's going on? What's going on? Well, the baby's in distress. My first child was born 3.5 weeks early. Needed oxygen. Had to go into NICU, neonatal intensive care. Got out of it fine. God bless. Tell you what, soul searching is what was going on. Oh my God. You just hope they're healthy. I didn't roll the dice on the third. I remember people would ask me, I had 2 daughters. Are you going to try for a son? No, ma'am. Not gonna. Well, why not? I'm blessed with two healthy children. I don't want to roll the dice on that. The other reason is I never wanted to play zone defense with kids. I liked the man-to-man coverage model. You got 3, suddenly one of you's got 2. That's a handful. But stillborn baby, think about it. 9 months, to the greatest sorrow ever. Buying a small casket. These things can happen. We have to be able to contemplate how we would go about getting through it, to be prepared. Not to be hoping ill will on your family, but being a realist. I'm going to face adversity. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, our military coming back. There's PTSD from other things. Divorces. I went through one. Not good on anybody. What you do in that is you surround the children and make sure they understand it's going to be okay. Then I was blessed with an unbelievable second opportunity in life that I'm absolutely blessed and my children are blessed to have. Stability, great role model. So the positive came out of it. I didn't feel really good moving from my big house into a small apartment when it fell apart. Could have gone real deep end bad. Could have dove into the bottle. Could have started doing stupid stuff, hitting the bar scene. Nope. Thank God. I'm not saying I'm better. I just happened to fight through it. You need to do that too. What if someone loses a job? With this inflation running rampant, check to check, real earnings down, what would you do? I'm going to touch on the financial things with some great people over the next coming weeks around how you prepare for that. It will happen. I opened up a construction company building high-end custom homes in the Carolinas in 2006. It was great until 2009. Thank God it was a side hustle. But hero to zero feeling, bank full of cash to, I just lost $700,000. What do you mean? To make it go away. Bankruptcies happen to people. In the pandemic, grown kids are moving back in. How are you going to handle that? That changes the life. My oldest daughter moved from the Carolinas, followed us back up to the Midwest, and we made an agreement with her. You are welcome here. We love you, and we want to help you. For 90 days. She was out in 50. So proud of her. So proud of her. So proud of both my kids. But you got to make sure that you set some boundaries on those things. You help, but you also owe it to yourself that you have your own life established now. Once the kids leave the nest, it's about the couple, the parents, and always your spouse is the most important. That's how it works. Spouse, then kids. Very, very close, but you have to be solid as the spouse. You lose that job, what are you going to do? You better have financial stability. You better make sure you're ready to go on this stuff because it can be very, very, very tough. What happens if your house has a fire? Tornadoes in the Midwest. Look what just happened in Florida. Tens of thousands of mobile homes and homes destroyed by the latest hurricane. Now, first of all, use your brain in where you decide to put your roots because shit happens. Storms happen. They say the storms are getting worse. That's actually not accurate. They say they're getting more destructive. That's accurate. That's the play on words, right? They cause more financial damage. The reason is in 1940, there were only 600,000 homes in Florida, the whole state. Now there's over 10 million. Yeah, same-size storm comes through. It's going to be more destructive. There was a storm that I think it was 1929 hit Miami. They say today if that same storm, same size, came in and did the same amount of damage because of all the homes and cars and businesses that are now in that area, Broward County, Miami area, all that, $250 billion in damages. Katrina was like under $50 billion. This latest one that just destroyed all of that West Fort Myers and Sanibel Island, all that, they're saying maybe $60 billion. Imagine 4 times that. It's because there's 15 million people living there, all with high-end cars and beachfront property. It's not the storms have gotten worse. So they've chosen to live where the risk is higher. Flooding. You don't buy a house in a floodplain. Avoid the adversity if you can. But floods happen. Water pipes break when you're on vacation. My brother and his wife had built a brand new beautiful home. They go out the first night. They've moved in. Go out the first night. Daughter flushes the toilet upstairs before she leaves. They go out to dinner. They come back. Water is running out of the can lights in the kitchen onto the floor. They've been in the house for 8 hours. What had happened? The pipe coming from the wall, the little flexible tubing that connects the wall to the toilet, was loose. And it just overflowed and overflowed, so it never hit the shutoff. It broke loose on the bottom, and that water just pumped and pumped and pumped. New ceiling later. Adversity comes. You have to be able to take it on. Friend with a serious illness. We have a dear friend, my wife. It's awful. 46 years old, 2 kids. I think they're 13 and 10. Had headaches. Go to the eye doctor. I think it's my glasses. Gets new glasses. Headaches don't go away. Brain tumors. Not good. Part of her skull's been removed. She had to be life flighted after her first radiation treatment. The father is looking at 2 daughters, 13 and 10, or 2 kids, 13 and 10. How am I going to raise them by myself? Things happen, man. And you got to be strong. You got to fight through it. You have to be optimistic toward the future. You owe it to those around you, and you most importantly owe it to the one that you've lost if you lost somebody. We had friends just recently. He found out, has a child, 19 years old, never knew he even had it. That'll put a little conversation starter at the dinner table with your significant other, won't it? Hey, by the way, just found out, got a 19-year-old. Now, what would you do? How would you handle these things coming at you? You've got to think through it. Raising grandchildren. Talked about drug addiction before. How many stories do you see where grandma and grandpa are raising the kids? It happens all the time. You got to be able to handle these things in life. Adversity comes at you all the time. You might think of it as bad luck, and maybe sometimes it is, but you've got to be able to dig your heels in and fight through this. What would I do? Think about it. It's not trying to be Debbie Downer here, Donald Downer. I'm trying to let you understand, help you understand, that you need to be mentally tough and courageous to be able to handle these things. Now, what if these things happen to yourself? What if I were to fall off a ladder, putting Christmas lights up, break my back, break my leg? Do you have your insurance in the right space? Another financial aspect we'll touch on. Do you have insurance for your family to keep moving forward? Don't be overinsured, but do you have something in place? Do you have disability coverage? Do you have a plan? Remember, preparedness. Hope for the best, prepared for the worst. The biggest fear I have in life is to leave my wife and children not taken care of. That and a fear of failure in my business life are what lead me every day. I refuse to not be successful. And success comes in a lot of ways. It's not financial. It's being a good example for your children. It's being honest and caring for your wife. It's being loving to your parents. It's being a good sibling. It's being respectful of your elders. It's being helpful to somebody you don't know. Pulling over to help with a flat tire. Returning a cart for someone in the parking lot of the grocery store. Hey, can I take that for you? They look at you like, who's this stranger? Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. Try these things. Something's going to come at you individually. I've already said my dad faced Alzheimer's. It concerns me. Will I have that? Every time I can't remember a name, I'm like, oh boy. I'm only 55. I'm going to be 55 in January. Oh boy. My dad You know, again, not funny, but I said on the last episode of Hanley University, you got to have a little sense of humor too. You got to remember the fun times. We should have known. My dad showed up at my sister's house with a bag from True Value with toilet parts and said, "Your mom said your toilet's broke. I'm here to fix it." My sister's toilet wasn't broke. Where that came from, we still don't know. That was 6 or 7 years before it got bad. Things happen. But are you prepared? Have you surrounded yourself with the right plans to handle these life adversities? Once you get to a certain age, are you thinking about long-term health insurance? Are you putting 20% of all you earn into the bank? No one gets rich on their salary. Elon Musk, maybe. But not you and me. Investments. Planning for your future. Don't procrastinate on these things. These cannot be procrastinated on. Do you have a will? Are you insured appropriately? Can you handle the adversity financially first? One adversity can lead to a whole nother level of adversity. Make sure that they don't stack on each other. Be prepared. And you know what? They're great things to do with your significant other and yourself. You feel really proud when you know you have prepared your family with what you can if the adversity strikes you down. They are in a good spot. Nothing would be worse for me, first of all, to be a car accident, broken, whatever, can't work any longer. That would be hard. That's going to be hard enough on us. What if you had to sit and look at your significant other have to get up and work 2 jobs to keep the lights on, to take care of you and the kids, because you no longer can participate in bringing home the bacon? So you have to think about these things. They're not joyous to think about, but we got to be strong. We got to be mentally tough enough to understand our legacy is what we do in preparing for the bad things, not what we didn't prepare for. You want your legacy to be solid. Not, well, he really should have had more insurance. Well, he really shouldn't have left her when she was sick. Well, he never really got along with his dad in the end when his dad was falling out of his mindful state with Alzheimer's. Do you want to be remembered like that? No. You want to be remembered as the husband that supported his wife through the trying years. You want to be remembered as the sibling that went over and helped his sister or her brother to get through these hard times and support them. You want to be remembered as the friend that was there as you fought the disease. That's our job as human beings. Be a decent one. Be a smart one. Don't play victim. Plan and be the victor. That's what you have to do in these things. Adversity is going to come at us, everybody. Not trying to be a Debbie Downer, Donald Downer today. I'm just trying to be real. That's what this is about, is how do we handle this new world we're in, and at what little baby steps can we take along the way to ensure that we're positioned well? That's what it's about. Don't think that something is not going to come at you. My father-in-law, flooding the house. In 93, I was living in Des Moines, Iowa then. The town didn't have, because of the floods, the town didn't have running water for 19 days. Imagine not having running water for 19 days. We did it. You know how the town went back to work? We hired fire pump engines from all over the Midwest to come in, hook up and put the skyscraper water systems under pressure so the fire marshal would let us get back to work. I'm in a meeting on the 40th floor of the principal tower. You got to use the restroom. We brought in 1,000 portable bathrooms and lined the streets. You see people in suits sitting outside of bathrooms, porta-johns, so they could use the restroom. If you had to use the restroom from the 40th floor, see you in 30 minutes. I'll be back. No drinking water for 19 days. The entire town went around the West Des Moines water treatment plant to sandbag to save it. I lived in West Des Moines. I was fortunate. And every night we'd have a different family out to shower, shave, home-cooked meal. Otherwise, you were driving around and the National Guard was here with these huge 3,000-gallon water bladders next to tanks where you'd go and you'd get your 5 gallons for the day. So you could flush your toilet. so you could drink something, so you could cook hot dogs on your stovetop with a couple cups of water. 190,000 people faced that. That was the biggest population without running water in the United States that had water treatment ever. I was downtown in my territory on the Friday before it hit. It hits Sunday morning, about 2 in the morning is when the water treatment plant went under. Water was like 18, 19 feet above flood stage, went over the dikes and everything to get at the water treatment plant. I was down there calling on people on Friday. On Monday, the buildings were underwater. Thousands and thousands of people faced with that. It wasn't their fault. Act of God. Tornadoes hit. Forest fires. Stuff happens, folks. So listen, this is all important things for you to remember, that life is going to come at you. You got to be prepared to take these things on. Adversity is not something that happens to the other person. It happens to all of us. I hope there's small things, but most importantly, you need to overcome all of them. It's not easy, but you can't fail at this. I believe in you. You will be good here if you plan and prepare and become mentally tough. We try to talk to our kids about this all the time. It's not what comes at you, it's how you handle it. That's the difference between good and lackluster. And I just want you all to remember this, man. I still believe, even with this topic being hard and everything, this. You're awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.